Hey folks, this is Andy Crouch from All About Beer. I wanted to take a second to thank Pure Project for coming on as an underwriter. We appreciate having the support of this sustainably sourced San Diego brewery. Pure Project believes that quality ingredients and attention to detail matter, from grain to glass. You can enjoy their beer at multiple locations in San Diego and the North County. If you want to join Pure Project and the more than 25 other underwriters helping us pay our writers, podcasters, and artists, check out allaboutbeer.com/support. It's an affordable way to join the All About Beer community.
Welcome to Drink Beer, Think Beer, the podcast that gets to the bottom of every pint. I'm John Holl. We're not quite in the dead of winter, but it feels like it, at least here at the home office. So I wanted to think about warmer weather, growth, life, and green. So I'm excited to have Darren Gamache of Virgil Gamache Farms in Washington's Yakima Valley here on the show. We're going to talk about 2025 hops, what 2026 might bring, and the farm's hop water, which could be a good fit for your drinking, even if you're not doing dry January. But first, I've been talking about this on the show for a while, and you often hear Andy Crouch at the cold open of the shows. But the way we're able to bring original content to the beer industry and to curious beer drinkers is through your support. We've created an affordable underwriting program that is easy on your budget, helps you get visibility, and is an altruistic way to directly fund writers, photographers, and editors. Please visit allaboutbeer.com/support to learn more, or reach out to me directly on email at johnholl, that's JOHNHOLL, at allaboutbeer.com. When you're at our website, please poke around a bit. You can read some of the recent articles, peruse the archives, which go all the way back to our founding in 1979. You can tune into other podcasts like Brewer to Brewer and the All About Beer podcast. You won't be disappointed. And you can follow All About Beer on social media. We're just at All About Beer across the usual platforms. And you can keep up with everything that we have going on. We're going to get into this conversation in a moment. But first, here's a note from this episode's sponsor. We thank them for their support, and we hope you'll give them your business.
Calling all hopheads. Dogfish Head's 60-minute IPA is a fantastically hoppy India Pale Ale that's beautifully balanced thanks to their unique continual hopping method. Delivering a pungent hop flavor that isn't crushingly bitter, 60 Minute is continually hopped throughout the boil for a full 60 minutes. Starting to see where the name comes from? Check out dogfish.com to learn more and to find some 60 Minute near you. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
Dry January has me thinking about alcohol alternatives. I'm not participating, but I know a lot of folks are. The hop water category is one that I've personally enjoyed, and they are a great work afternoon refresher or a third drink after 2 rounds of IPA. One of the better ones I had last year is Albert's Dry Hop Seltzer, made by Virgil Gamache Farms in Washington's Yakima Valley. The 4th-generation hop farm entered the beverage business last year with this offering, and it's available, by the way, through their website and other online retailers. They're making it at Oregon's Full Sail Brewing. Darren Gamache joined me via Zoom to talk about the seltzer, the hop industry, the ups and downs of farming, and to offer a bit of insight on what this new year might bring for hops. Here's our conversation. Well, thanks for doing this. I'm always, I think when people think about, hops and farms, it's always August, September out by you guys when things are really ramping up and people are going for selection, and there's all these great social media videos and photos going up of full fields and then empty fields and processing and all of that. But here we are in early January. What's it like on the farm now? What do you use these frozen months to do?
Oh, John, that's a great question. So we have and this must be just a reflection of modern times. I'd like to say that all we do is farm and move dirt around and focus on the plants, et cetera, et cetera. But that's really the vehicle for all the rest of the things that must and have to happen. And this is a time of year that those other things occur. And so just to give you a bit of a description, so my day right now is filled with answering and fielding questions from clients that are trying to receive their product overseas. So we've got export concerns that are happening. So people that have bought and chosen their hops in August and are saying, hey, this is wonderful, but now they want them to brew Northern Hemisphere stuff for the next season. So we're trying to get them their product. So we're dancing around tariffs and we're dancing around, okay, what kind of new MRL issues are we dealing with that changed in the last couple of months? Just
I don't know if I know what MRL is. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, that's fine. Material residue levels. So what that is that when we apply a plant protection material to a block, we pre-designate which blocks are going to be cleared for EU, UK, Australia, Korea, Japan, South America, and domestic US.
Okay.
So each one of those areas, they're treated differently from a plant protection mix, if you will, in order to clear customs for those clients. And these are all issues that any product that's being exported, ag product specifically, is beholden to. We have to do this, otherwise our clients cannot receive our products.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's a lot of like the paperwork.
So there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of preparation because, and we did for I think almost a decade, we did organics, and so there's always things about with dust and what your neighbor's doing, and with organics, it was what the neighbor applied 15 miles away, but there was a dust storm, and now,
oh wow, okay.
And now with the sensitivity levels of the equipment that's available, if there is a trace of anything, you can see it, you can detect it, and so we have to make sure that we dance around all those and make sure that the product that we're representing and we're delivering to our clients can get to them. So that's the first hour or two of the day. And then you go into the next one, which is, okay, what are we forecasting for what we need to do for the next year in terms of varietal mix and then varietal volumes? Who wants to do what, and what MRL qualifications does it need? Because we have to plan for all these things. And then, so it's always an ongoing conversation for all these things that allow us to just farm. It's quite something.
I'll bet. I mean, it is, and I mean, I was going to say, do you prefer one over the other? But I imagine, you can't do one without the other. So it's, like this work is necessary to get to, pre-harvest or, pre-planting and growing season and harvest, and then rinse, repeat kind of thing. Yeah.
I would say that the documentation does get to be a little bit wearying, because it's always the same questions, and sometimes there's like a language barrier, and so or clients that are importing, they don't do it on a regular basis. They do it every couple of years, and maybe it's a new person, and they're not familiar with any of this stuff, and so you're always assisting with, hey, do you have your certificate of origin? Because you're going to need that to get through customs in your country. Do you have this? Did the import company that you hired, are they aware of this? And inadvertently, it's always a panic at the last minute saying, hey, I need this for customs, and customs asked for these documents here. And you can never say, well, I've already sent those to you a month ago, but here's the documents again. It's always, it takes effort to make all this work, is I guess the bottom line.
I mean, the farm, for folks who don't know, I mean, fourth generation now, right?
I'm fourth generation on my father's side, and I'm fifth generation on my mother's side.
That's
So
wild.
I guess, John, I probably should talk a little bit about the farm since I didn't really mention that earlier. The name of the farm is Virgil Gamache Farms. It was started by my great great grandfather Albert back in 1913, and we did initially during the first when it was getting established. We did potatoes and alfalfa and Concord grapes and all those things that you do during Prohibition.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until 1932 where we started planting, and this was due to the forecast of the end of Prohibition was coming, um, that we planted cluster. And the cluster roots that we received, and now we'll talk a little bit about the history in the valley, we actually received from a local Native American called Moses Sampson. And his farm was out in Medicine Valley, which is just west of our place by about, oh, I'd say maybe 12 miles. And Moses Sampson used to work for a guy by the name of Charles Carpenter. And at Charles Carpenter's farm on the Atanum, which is just north over the ridge, the Atanum Ridge. And you might remember that Charles Carpenter was the first person to bring hop roots to Yakima from Puyallup. And I could be wrong on that. You have to actually go down to the Hop Museum and look it up, but I believe it was from Puyallup. But anyway, he's the one who started the hop industry here in Yakima, and he is the scion of the Carpenter Ranches, which is of the hop of the Yakima Chief fame and hop breeding.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that all worked. But we got our roots from Moses, and Moses was paid in rootstock from Charles. So that's the loop.
It's wild. Um, and I mean, I know the farm has, I mean, contributed to the overall beer industries in incalculable ways. I mean, most specifically with Amarillo. Um, and
Amarillo is a big one, yes, for sure. So the Amarillo is the brand name. The cultivar name, and you'll appreciate this, is Virgil Gamache EX Experimental 01. So it's VGXP01. So if you ever see that floating around anywhere, that's what it stands for.
okay, do you still try to get people to push it that way, or has the commercial name just fully taken over now?
We've always preferred using the commercial name because we
Okay.
find it here. But we, but it's just always kind of fun, just from a trivia point of view, that's the cultivar name. So if you ever come across it, that's what it is.
Okay, I'll put that in the next batch of trivia.
Yeah.
I like
So
that.
that was, I think, probably our biggest, and we found that hop. All we did was just recognize that this could be something successful, and that we liked the flavor of it, and that we thought this would be great in beer. And literally everything about it we did almost last minute, just pure luck. And we moved, we just got frankly very lucky. But what came out of this, and this is what I'm particularly proud of, is I'm proud of Amarillo, don't get me wrong on that, but I'm also proud of this lab that we put together. It's a hop quality control lab, and we call it Hop Technics. And it is wonderful because when you're trying to, when you have a brand like Amarillo and you're doing brand management, and as these things get bigger, you have to deal with terroir, you have environmental concerns, you've got different techniques from the different farms, all of these things, and for most of my career, we were always under the gun of being short. So every pound mattered because it made beer, it kept people in business, brands were depending on it, beer brands, all of these things. And so we had to figure out some way of bringing all of these different interests, quantifying it, qualifying it, and figuring out how to sort all this information, this data, and do it live because we only get one shot a year by field to make sure that what's coming off that field hit preference.
Yeah.
And so that's why we created this lab. And at the time, there was nothing out there that really was functional, even within industry. And so we went with a lot of work that Sonia Collins did with the thiols, and then but prior to that, it was oh Kishimoto. He was a chemist that worked with Asahi. I read a lot of his work, his papers, and he did a lot of work with terpenes.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I was looking at, and flavor threshold, and what concentration levels were necessary to drive different profiles in the hops and in the beer. And so putting all this together, we came up with protocols in order to sample the hops in the field, harvest them, and then send them to the right selection table so that people would be happy with the product that they were receiving. So
That's
we got
wild.
very good
Yeah.
about the chemistry.
And I mean, that's sort of where I wanted to go, of just, going back the 4 or 5 generations now, and obviously the light year advancement that the farm had from those early days to where it is now. But even within the last, I don't know, is 10 years fair to say, of just how breakneck speed everything seems to be advancing?
I would say it was probably the tiger by the tail started in 2007.
Okay. So going back a lot further, then going back almost 20 years.
Yeah, but I think it's important because it starts that flywheel, right? It creates momentum, and then you build on these things, right? And so every year, every couple of years, there's a significant challenge that basically reinvents what the farm has to do in terms of administration or in terms of production. And then the question is, well, how do we tackle that hill? And then you have to come up with a different way to do it, because what we used to do in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, even the 70s, would not work because we're not dealing with cluster. We're dealing with terroir. We're dealing with people that are doing selection. They're small batch brewers that see every single pound. And so you had to take a different approach to it. And so, yeah, it really started in that 2007, 2008 era. Then it blew massively when we did a 900-acre expansion across 3 states in, I think it was in 2011 or 2012. We had to do it in 2012. And then we expanded into Europe in 2015. And so there's Amarillo production over there. But figuring out how to manage all this and get people what they want, that was a challenge.
Yeah. So what was the challenge of 2025? And here we are a couple of days into a new year. How is that year going to be remembered?
For us, there's I would say 2025 was the year that we released Albert's dry hop seltzer. So for us,
that was me opening one. Yeah.
We made that decision in January. We brewed the first commercial batch, I think, by March or April. And we were starting to market it. And then, but Albert's is a wonderful pivot for us because we had seen that the peak beer is what it's being called. I think is the what the cool kids are calling it, was in 2018. Might have been 17, could have been 19, but that was peak beer. And it's been on a slow decline ever since then. And so, as part of one of my challenges, is I'm trying to maintain a diverse amount of terroir. So I've got growers all over the place. They're all contributing beautiful hops into a shrinking market. And so as those brands are shrinking, I still need to figure out a way to maintain the production base so that there's a diverse and interesting and lovely variability of product for people to choose from.
Yeah.
And so looking at this slow decline, we're trying to figure out, okay, what else can we use these hops in? What else can we do that is topical? What do we want? And how do we help our friends? And so Albert's is a dry hop seltzer that uses 100% hops, and it's dosed at about 1.5 pounds per barrel.
I noticed that on the can. I'm just going to interrupt you. That on the
Yeah.
can and even on the website, you don't say what hops.
No, and it's because I use a mix. And
Okay.
part of that is because what we did, this goes back to Hop Technic, we've identified a flavor profile that we're looking for. And in any given year, any given vintage, we have a different contribution by Mother Nature. So I change the ratio of the hops in order to hit that flavor profile. I will tell you that the base is Amarillo. And actually, it doesn't. I mean, it's fine. I can tell you what everything's in there. The hop mix is Amarillo. It's Sonnet. It's Sots. And but I expect that to change in coming years, just because of, or even ratios to change, just because of the nature of a God made product. That's
Sure.
why I didn't really put it on there, because it wasn't material to what we were trying to accomplish.
Gotcha. What's interesting about this, I mean, is a bunch of things. I've been enjoying drinking it. I don't participate in dry January, but I do try to mix in a lot of the NA stuff. And there's a good amount of hop water that's out there. And some are a lot better than others. And this sort of rises towards that top for me for a lot of different reasons. And I think, just the ingredients that you were just naming, I think help with that. There's this sort of, fun peach ring apricot thing that goes with it. But it also kind of scratches an itch for, like a light IPA. And kind of cut from that modern cloth. So if I don't want a heavy beer, it sort of fits with that. But I'm so curious about launching. I mean, like, with the exception out in Yakima of Balebraker and their farm, are there other folks that are producing their own beverage? I know you're brewing this down at Full Sail in Oregon, or making it, not brewing it, but making it down in Oregon. But is it
Not that I'm
how do I
aware of.
phrase this? Yeah, I mean, it's like most people will license their name, or they would, they supply the product for a beverage, but you going in to create one. And then, starting it in January and having it out for in time for harvest this year, because I saw a bunch when I was in Yakima in 2025. I mean, you obviously probably learn a lot from people who walk through your door and, being in and around the beer industry. But launching your own beverage brand, what were the unforeseen challenges, and what have the rewards been so far for this?
I would say the unforeseen challenges. I actually haven't had an opportunity to take a deep breath and ruminate on any of it, to be honest with you. But I will take a stab. I think the difference, the biggest difference, or the biggest challenge that I've had, has been kind of a mental shift. I am used to working with the seasons. So my life is dictated by what needs to happen in a week's time or in 2 weeks' time, or I I gotta get this field harvested because the rain's coming and it's gonna be here in 6 hours. So there's always this urgency about everything that we do because we know that if we don't hit those marks, bad things happen, right?
Sure.
So the difference has been is when you go into and you start promoting your own beverage, there's a disconnect, and I feel like a lot of and I didn't realize what the stress level was for our craft friends. But when you go into distribution, there's a disconnect there in terms of urgency. Everything happens on a completely different cadence. It's always 2 weeks. It's always 4 weeks. It's always 6 weeks. Oh, let's try it next quarter. And I can understand that now, looking back at it from 6 to 8 months. And granted, John, I'm very new at this. I only have a few months worth of experience with it. But even within that few months, I can see the reason for it. But I do find that to be something that I didn't forecast was going to be as big of a mental challenge for me because I like to move and I like to get things done because that's what I trained for 30 some years.
So how has the reception been as far as you can tell?
So I think it's been well received. The one of the things that we've noticed with this product is that it appeals to people whether they're 10, 12 years old all the way up to grandparents age. And when we were at festivals and we're having people do taste trials and things like that, it it actually I was surprised by how many people liked it. There's always a few that don't care for it or it's not their gig or that sort of thing, and that was that's completely fine. That's completely normal. My kids, they don't like it. Just for their age level, just so everyone knows in the audience. My eldest is 15 or 16, 15. She's 15, and the twins are 13. And they don't like it. They say it tastes like hops, and that's why they don't like it. Yeah, but their friends love it, and my nieces love it. So I'm like, well, you can't win them all, right? So, and I think that's fun. So
Yeah. Um, the so this challenge aside from 2025, right? I just kind of want to go back just a little bit to sort of do the post-mortem on 25, as far as the regular industry. Um, h- how do you feel last calendar year shook out for you all? And, I'm not asking you to speak for the whole industry up there, but, if you have insight, I'd love to hear it because, I mean, obviously there's all of the headwinds that people are talking about for brewers, and wary on that front. And you mentioned the tariffs early on in this conversation, which are just wreaking havoc for so many people right now. Um, how will the hop industry remember 2025?
I think they're going to remember it for two distinct areas. The first one is that the quality of the hops that came out of this year, were really quite nice. And we had a very good growing season. There were a few hits here and there, like we had a relatively cool spring. But once we started getting some heat and the mildness of it, there were a lot of varieties that this was probably one of their best opportunities to be showcased. So I think that was lovely. The other side of it is that there is so much of an oversupply of alpha out in the marketplace. We like to think that craft drives everything, and craft is important and all that, and it is. Don't get me wrong, it is. Um, but
But
there's a
yeah,
larger market and it's a commodities market. And when it moves, it changes lives, right? And the the issue that they have there is that they're in such an oversupply situation that they don't have, they really don't have uh, they don't have a solution yet, other than kind of hoping that things turn around and that this inventory can be worked through. But it's an anchor on the entire industry. Just to kind of give you an idea, is that when the macro, and this was a quote that was given to me, and I won't mention but it was had to do with macro volumes, and this was an observation from this procurement person within their company. And they said that when not craft, it was when the brewing industry drops about 5%, that adds a year to existing hop inventories within their company.
Wow.
And so if you just think about that and put that in perspective and look at where things have been from peak beer and kind of seeing that slow decline, you're starting to look at the magnitude of what global industry is dealing with.
Okay.
And yeah, they'll get through it and all of that, but it is a challenge because you still have to find these bright spots, and you still have to keep the lights on.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned alpha, which I think is really interesting, but this year I had the chance to spend a couple of days banging around Yakima and even in Oregon as well, at various farms, and talking with brewers and everything. And there's obviously still a lot of excitement around Citra and Mosaic. Amarillo still gets a lot of conversation, a lot of the old school C hops. Um, I wasn't really getting a lot from brewers, at least. I know there's a lot of growers who are like, hey, we have this new hop out and you should be excited about this. And there's alternative hop products and the advancements and all of that. But in your conversations when folks were coming through this year, was there just an interest in doing cool things with the established hops as opposed to what's next, what's exciting?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, a lot of I think I'm going to say there's an interest in both,
Okay,
and people are interested in looking at, especially the R&D guys are looking at what can we do, what can we put out into our R&D group and our test beds, and how. So I mean, there was a ton of interest in that, and so there's new varieties coming out of Oregon. There's always new varieties out of Washington. All of so there's all there was interest in that, but there was also interest in what type of product do you have today that can make my established brands more cost effective.
sure.
And I thought that was interesting. And then there were the other conversations where, holy crap, man, we were ecstatic this year and we were so happy. And they're just buying products to maintain the status quo, which is, there's nothing wrong with that at all. And these are your classics, these are your T90s, and they're making great beer, and they're just holding the line and they're happy with it. Uh, so so I definitely think we had like three different lines of conversation that were occurring.
Gotcha. So as you I mean, who can predict the future? But what is 2026, the conversations that you all have been happening, where are you
Where
putting the
are they?
efforts into this new year?
So they're just starting, frankly. In fact, this month and about halfway through next month will be kind of the big shifts. There's a hop convention that occurs the third week of every January, and that's where a lot of the conversations are happening. There's always the preludes to it, starting middle last month, and kind of stretching through this week and next week. So there's like conversations where people are feeling out, hey, are you thinking about this? Are you thinking about that? Do you need that block over there? Those sorts of things. But those decisions really won't be finalized starting until that third week of January, and then stretching off. And then the last bit will be after craft convention, the craft brewers convention.
Sure.
That's when basically everything's in place, and the bullets are fired, or arrows are fired, if you will, and the season's established. So up until then, there's a lot of things that can happen. But we're kind of in that calm before the storm, and while people are figuring out their forecasting, because right now it's all forecasting. We're really producing the ingredients for 2027.
I like that. Well, when I see you, if I run into you, if you're out there in Philly, I shouldn't make assumptions for the Craft Brewers Conference. I'll try to get an update then as to how things have shaken out. For a while now on this particular podcast, I've been asking folks the Green Door question, which is in the final season of The Good Place, the characters discover a green door that they can walk through and be anywhere they want, doing whatever they want. So if we had a green door on our plane of existence and this conversation ended and you could walk through it and be in any pub or any brewery anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? Who would you want to be with? And what would you like to be drinking?
Oh my Lord, that is an awesome question. Can it be kind of a floating one?
It can be whatever you want.
Yeah,
This is your,
because
yeah.
I've got buddies in Vonsack at the Post that I'd love to be drinking Augustiner with. They're all my grower buddies over there. That would be lovely. I need to be doing that here in the next 4 or 5 months. Then moving from there over in Worcestershire. There's a pub that the UK Charles Ferrum guys like to go to that has the best milds, and that's fabulous.
Okay.
I mean, it's the great thing about being in craft, especially U.S. craft, is that I get to meet and hang out with all of these great people from all of these different countries. There's a little Sriracha Ace bar. It's called Sriracha Base, and it's right in Tokyo. And they serve Sapporo's Sriracha Ace, which we grow the hops for. And it's so much fun to hang out with that pub owner and the guys from Tokyo. It's a lovely spot. There's definitely a couple places in Melbourne that are the bomb, hanging out with the Bintani group down there. Then you've got Yakima. I mean, it's everywhere you go. If you're in the beer business, you've got friends, and it doesn't matter what state or what country. You can find a pub and make a couple phone calls, and you're surrounded by your people. So I guess in short, I guess I'm kind of in that green door right now.
Well, I like that.
If that's not too political of an answer, but I really feel that way.
No, I love it.
Fabulous.
No, that's great. And it's never too early, I imagine, for the brewers who are listening to start thinking about their a Yakima visit for harvest this year.
Oh, absolutely. Come out, say hello, or even just stop by one of the booths, or just reach out and give a phone call and ask, what's going on, what are your take, that sort of thing. The great thing about this business is that it's a relationship business, and we're all very social animals.
Well, I love it. I'm already plotting a return visit for this year, so I'm gonna put your stop on the list for sure. Darren, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for making a cool hop water that the world needs right now. And I'm excited to drink more of it. But thanks for taking the time. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you, John. Appreciate the time.
Are you participating in Dry January in some form? If so, what are you drinking? You can reach me and tell me via email anytime you want. It's John Holl at allaboutbeer.com. That's JOHNHOLL at allaboutbeer.com. Make sure you join the This Week in Rauk Beer group on Facebook or follow at TW Rauk Beer on Instagram. Upload your photos and join the conversation. And you can support us by visiting allaboutbeer.com/support. When you're at the website, check out new content as well as the archives, which go all the way back to 1979. And you can find the links to follow All About Beer on social media while you're there. Before we run, here is a note from this episode's sponsors. We thank them for their support, and we hope you'll give them your business.
Calling all hopheads. Dogfish Head's 60-minute IPA is a fantastically hoppy India Pale Ale that's beautifully balanced thanks to their unique continual hopping method. Delivering a pungent hop flavor that isn't crushingly bitter, 60-minute is continually hopped throughout the boil for a full 60 minutes. Starting to see where the name comes from? Check out dogfish.com to learn more and to find some 60-minute near you. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
If you like smart audio content, a reminder that All About Beer has a separate podcast channel. Search and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. You can listen to shows like Brewer to Brewer and the All About Beer podcast with Don Tess and M. Souter. Steal This Beer has new episodes every Monday. The BYO Nano podcast comes out on the 15th of every month. And as for this show, Nate Schweber does the music, Jeff Quinn designed our logo, and I'm John Holl. New episodes release every Wednesday, and that's when I'll be back again to drink beer and to think beer.